Now on Talking Solutions, our clean energy expert, Jennifer Taylor.
Thanks for having me back, Terry.
Thank you for coming in. You also brought Assemblyman Chris Brooks, District 10.
That's correct. Good morning, Terry.
Welcome. We want to talk clean energy. That's something that we always discuss with Jennifer. And I know that in our last legislative session, there was a lot of activity. In fact, Jennifer and I talked about all of the things that happened up in Carson City. And every time she'd tell me about it, she always was mentioning your support for clean energy initiatives.
And actually, Terry, Chris was not just a supporter, but the Assemblyman really was one of our primary champions in the legislature. So we're lucky to have him here today to talk about all the work he did and what's coming up next.
We've been talking about you for a while, in a good way. So it is nice to have you here, Assemblyman Brooks. You were a big part of all these successes that came out of the legislature as far as clean energy. Out of all the things you did, what was your biggest accomplishment?
Assembly Bill 405 was probably my biggest accomplishment. It was a bill that returned the rooftop solar industry to Las Vegas. It created a rate structure in statute, and it also created a consumer bill of rights for renewable energy consumers. And we're seeing that particular language being adopted across the country in states who have the same issues Nevada had.
Of course, I'm going to be biased because I love living in Southern Nevada, but I believe our state is really cutting edge and in the forefront of these green energy initiatives, especially down this way, solar.
Well, I started a solar company almost 20 years ago, and it was one of the first solar electric companies in the country. And I located it right in Las Vegas, in Assembly District 10. And as a result of that, have been involved in the conversation at the Nevada legislature for most of my career. And this is just another chapter in that story. I wanted to be able to be part of the process at the legislature as I see us reaching these kind of crossroads in energy policy at our state.
So you have a deep understanding of issues including solar as far as clean energy initiatives and different clean energy approaches. You know from a business standpoint all about solar energy.
Absolutely. I saw some of the problems we were having here in the state with solar energy, with our portfolio standard, with access to net metering and rooftop solar, and more importantly, the opportunities that were available for Nevada, creating jobs and diversifying our economy that are available in the clean energy space. And so that was something I really wanted to be passionately involved with at the legislature and had the opportunity to really, I think, do some good.
We keep hearing about politics in general, how a lot of things don't get done as far as the federal level. But at the state level, our Nevada legislature has made moves in a lot of areas. And this is one of the big ones coming up, elections in November. Is there going to be something on the ballot related to clean energy we'll all be voting on?
There will be at least one ballot initiative that will be on the ballot for us to vote on energy. I believe there'll be two. There's question 3, which was a deregulation bill that was on the ballot and passed overwhelmingly in 2016. That will be on the ballot again in 2018. That is a ballot initiative to create a constitutional amendment that says there can't be wholesale monopolies and that every Nevadan will be given a new right to meaningful choice in how they receive their electricity, among other things. That passed in 16, will be back on the ballot in 18. Mm-hmm. And then we more than likely see a RPS, Renewable Portfolio Standard ballot initiative as well. They're trying to get signatures for that right now to qualify it. And if that were to be on the ballot, that would put into the Nevada Constitution that we must use clean energy at least 50% by 2030 in all of our energy mix, whoever provides it here in the state. I believe you'll see that on the ballot as well.
We're talking with Assemblyman Chris Brooks from the Nevada Legislature, District 10 here in the Las Vegas area. The first ballot issue that you mentioned has to do with, in layman's terms, deregulating electricity, people having a choice. Since that did pass, as you mentioned, overwhelmingly during the 2016 elections. Of course, the way it works in Nevada, it's got to pass twice, and then it becomes part of our state constitution. So we'll be hearing about that again. As far as the second one that you mentioned, Assemblyman Brooks, we're going to set our own standard of performance in our state, renewable energy, to provide a certain percentage of what we use.
Yes. Currently, and for many, many years, we've had in statute a renewable portfolio standard requirement. Right now, it's 25% by 2025. We are handily meeting that and are looking to continue to move that bar, to continue to excel as a state because it has been so successful in creating jobs, diversifying our economy, and lowering our rates. We want to make sure we take advantage of that. And the way that we have made such strides in adopting such large percentages of renewable energy in our state is by that portfolio standard. So last session, I sponsored a bill. We passed that bill. It was AB 206, and then the governor vetoed it. What that bill would have done was expand our renewable portfolio standard to 50% by 2030. And as a matter of fact, the bill that I ended up passing was 40% by 2030 as a compromise. It still was vetoed by the governor. There was a lot of opposition from folks who are the biggest proponents of deregulation to adopting a higher standard for renewable energy in our state. A lot of them feel that by adopting this standard, we will make it undesirable for companies that have excess fossil fuel generation outside of our state to then come to our state and try to sell it to me and you. I think that we have a long history of trying to encourage renewable energy in our state, and that should take priority over the business interests of some out-of-state entities.
Well, and Jennifer Taylor, who is also with us today in studio for Talking Solutions. Jennifer and I have talked in the past, and we don't have any fossil fuels in our state. Therefore, if we import those, it's Nevada dollars going out to purchase it. In the case of renewables, however, it's using available Nevada resources and not sending our money out of state. It seems to make sense that we'd like to keep all of that here in Nevada.
Well, I've always thought so, and so have the tens of thousands of people that have worked in this industry over the last couple of decades. We have a thriving geothermal industry that's been in the state for many, many years. We have a rapidly growing solar energy industry here in the state, and we have a new energy storage industry here in the state that has the ability to really make a difference. You know, we have the only operating lithium mine in the United States of America right here in Nevada, lithium being one of the primary components in most energy storage technologies right now. We have the biggest building on planet Earth in northern Nevada manufacturing energy storage devices in the Tesla Gigafactory. We have plentiful sunlight, wind, and geothermal, no fossil fuels. It really, really seems like we are missing a wonderful opportunity if we don't embrace all of those things and instead try to turn back the clock to the 80s and 90s and start buying excess fossil fuel energy from out of state.
Let's get some coal to go with that oil. Bring it on in. We'll send the money. It just seems to make sense.
I would think it's important that we recognize, realize, and put in place protections for Nevada's goals around renewable energy.
The renewable portfolio standard that will be on the ballot this November for all of us to vote on. Is it going to help create jobs?
Absolutely. The Renewable Portfolio Standard has been the tool that we have used in the state of Nevada to give the signal to developers and industries around the world that Nevada is open for business and we have a roadmap that we want to get to a certain standard. Now, by expanding that, we send that same signal to folks that give them the certainty to come into Nevada, invest billions of their dollars in Nevada infrastructure, and build these capital-intensive projects like solar, geothermal, transmission, and wind projects that will make achieving that renewable portfolio standard possible. Without that, there is not necessarily the direction to the markets that Nevada is heading in that direction.
Basically, we'd be putting out to the world, this is the direction we're going, and if you want to jump on with us and be part of this train, we're going for 50% or more of renewable energy to power our needs here in Nevada.
That's absolutely correct. And what we did with the Renewable Portfolio Standard several years ago in the legislature created a demand for renewable energy in our state that sustained our construction industry when the Strip was in a slump, when housing was in a slump, when there were not a lot of good construction jobs out there. There were thousands of renewable energy construction jobs. And that kind of helped buoy and diversify our economy in a time when we needed it the most.
And you know this from your own experience. We're talking with Assemblyman Chris Brooks, District 10 for our Nevada legislature. Jennifer Taylor is also with us, our clean energy expert. Assemblyman Brooks, I haven't gotten rooftop solar yet. Is it going to affect me or someone like me getting rooftop solar?
I think both of these questions that we're discussing today, both energy choice and the Renewable Portfolio Standard, will have a dramatic effect on that. A Renewable Portfolio Standard creates a demand that then needs to be met. Rooftop solar is part of that mix. Currently, if you have a rooftop solar system in Nevada and you have a net metering agreement with NV Energy, the capacity and the energy that you make helps them achieve their compliance with that portfolio standard. standard. And by expanding that, it expands that opportunity. By introducing Energy Choice into the mix, where you take NV Energy out of that role, now the markets from outside of our state have to come in here and assess if they want to take you on as a customer and take on your rooftop solar as a customer. You most certainly aren't going to get the same deal that you have today with net metering, with the one investor-owned regulated utility in the state. You're going to have to shop around. Somebody's going to want to take you and your solar system on as a customer. I don't necessarily know that that's going to be good for the rooftop solar industry. And as a matter of fact, I think it will be devastating for it. So we have two conflicting questions that might be on the ballot that are going to have profound effects on that thriving industry and the tens of thousands of Nevadans who've already made that investment.
Our resources, our jobs, the rates we pay, it all sounds pretty positive.
It really does. And the lowest cost energy contracts in the country right now are solar contracts and wind contracts. And solar with storage and wind with storage is the same or lower than the price of natural gas generation. And we have solar, we have storage, we do not have natural gas. So to me, it is a no-brainer.
One of the things, Assemblyman Brooks, that we always do on Talking Solutions is we ask, what can we do to help you?
The number one thing that Nevadans can do to help me, and if by helping me means you want to see more renewable energy and low power bills, is just to do your homework. There are going to be two technical ballot initiatives in November. Look who supports both of those and look who opposes both of those. Listen to the arguments for and against, and try to have an open mind about what you think that you want to see for the future of your state and for your kids and for our environment and our economy. Do a little homework, because I think if you spend the time to research both of those ballot initiatives, you will really see what they're truly both all about.
You're going to get a lot of direct mail pieces in your mailbox. We're going to get a lot of information. There's going to be a lot of opposing positions. You're right. Do your homework. And when your sample ballot arrives in the mail, at least take a look inside, because they will present arguments for passage and arguments against passage on everything we're asked to vote for in November. So do some homework. It's not that hard. Assemblyman Brooks, is there anything I'm forgetting?
Oh, chrisbrooksfornevada.com. I am trying to keep as much information on there as possible as it starts coming out. I'm waiting on a docket that was opened at the Public Utilities Commission of Nevada. It was an investigatory docket on energy choice where they take a look at 10 days of testimony from proponents and opponents of the concept. They are going to put out a report on what it could mean for Nevada. That should be out in the next couple of weeks. And that will really, I think, inform my position moving forward.
I will make sure that we put the links on our Talking Solutions Facebook page, along with a podcast of our discussion today.
That's great. I appreciate that.
Now, Jennifer Taylor, our clean energy expert, I can ask you the same question. What can we do to help you?
I think that Assemblyman Brooks really summed it up. These are two incredibly critical ballot initiatives. The Energy Choice Initiative is going to completely restructure how Nevada's energy business moves forward, and folks really need to do their homework, understand the truth and understand the spin, and make a distinction between the two. It's really easy to sell an idea on bullet points. It's a lot harder to implement that in a way that effectuates the promises in those bullet points.
It's all about energy, the jobs, keeping it in Nevada, not sending our money out of state.
Where are our rates currently in the West? I mean, we already have some of the lowest energy rates, don't we, for residential ratepayers?
Yeah, our rates are, I think it was something like 15% below the average for Western states, and have been decreasing, believe it or not, over the last couple of years. We just use a ton of electricity as consumers here in the state because we have those really hot days.
Air conditioning, what?
And when you write a really big bill, nobody likes to do that, myself included, and I have a pretty big power bill. So it seems there's a lot of misinformation on both sides of that issue, but the data is there. So we just need to look to California. We need to look to Massachusetts, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, some of these other states that have different forms of electricity markets than we currently are in, and see how high their power bills are. You know, my biggest concern as a representative of the people of Nevada is that we have, first, available and affordable energy, and second, that it is as clean as it possibly can be. And I think we are achieving those goals here in our state, and I am just fearful that by stripping away a lot of those protections for the lowest income ratepayers in our state, that we will not achieve those goals. So anything that can achieve those goals, I will support, and anything that puts those goals in jeopardy, I will oppose.
It's important that you realize that your vote does matter when it comes time to cast your ballot in November. As we mentioned, all the information on the Talking Solutions Facebook page, including links and one to the podcast of our discussion. Jennifer Taylor, clean energy expert, and Assemblyman Chris Brooks, District 10 for our Nevada legislature. Thank you so much for joining us today on Talking Solutions.
Thank you.
Thanks, Terry.